This is All the Things with Michelle Wolfe.
All right. So today I am joined with one of my favorite people, Lana Ryder. So she is a mentor and teacher for me in the world of sound and sound healing and all things music. So Lana, you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do in your community?
Oh, okay. Well, I am Lana Ryder, and I have been a holistic practitioner for 30 years. And I say holistic practitioner because I started out uh, going back to school, to massage school 30 years ago. Well, 31 years ago. And started out that way. I figured it was a good way to officially get into the holistic field after spending 25 years serving in different capacities in allopathic medicine. So, which ended up being a really good foundation
Yeah,
for holistic medicine. Gave me that additional
it's
understanding.
very well rounded.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's what it is, and it's always been something I'll say I bring all of that to the table, literally, uh, to the massage table or sound healing table or whatever, uh, because it's been my whole life. I have always worked in healthcare, uh, either allopathic or holistic, and I believe we can have the best of both worlds. So, anyways, so yeah, I was a massage therapist then for about 27 years, and when I introduced sound into my massage therapy practice back in I guess that was 1999. uh, I really didn't know what I was doing. I had been looking for a way to incorporate and sound uh, into my massage therapy practice, besides playing pretty relaxing music in the background, which was wonderful and is definitely a good thing and
Mhm.
definitely works. Helps us to relax and also and trains us to slow down our heart rate, blood pressure, and other physiological changes. So when I was on board with helping to open up WellSpan Center for Mind Body Health there in York, um, Pennsylvania, um, the medical director at the time brought a speaker in to help kick off the opening. And the cool thing was, before I found out who he was going to bring in, to speak to the staff and faculty and the public. I had been at a bookstore the night before and I was like, oh, there has to be something here. I don't want to be a music therapist. I didn't want to go back to college for that. It didn't, that clinical part of it just didn't interest me. Since I've always had an interest in holistic things. So I found this book. Um, I actually found three books, but at the time I could only afford one. And so it was The Healing Power of Sound by Mitchell Gaynor, MD, who was chief oncologist at Strang Cancer Center and a professor at Cornell University. So when I went into the staff meeting and Dr. Rogers, the medical director at the time of WellSpan Center, um, and he announced this, I was like, oh, wow, I just got that book last night. It's a sign. It's a sign.
Yes,
So
I love that. I love that.
yeah, that synchronicity. So, and I had, of course, already read about half the book overnight because I was so excited to find something that to that allopathic training
Hmm.
and experience that I had, bringing it with me into a holistic practice. And so he was my first teacher. Uh, gave us two different lectures, and I got to talk with him after each one. I bought my first little metal bowl singing bowl, Tibetan bowl, although that's
Mhm.
not really quite the correct name. We won't go into that now, but they're known by Tibetan bowl off his website, and just started using that. And then I took an online class through Jonathan Goldman, who was a real pioneer in bringing sound healing uh, to this country. Um, and just started practicing, asking my massage clients, "Would you mind if I use this bowl at the end of the session?" And so then I bought two tuning forks, and they were a C and a G, so that they're known as the perfect fifth. Uh, and there are other fifths in the Western music scale, of course, but those are the first two I bought. And then I bought my first crystal bowl. Um, so with those three little things, I started my sound therapy practice while I was reading and studying whatever I could. There wasn't a lot available then. I had a hard time finding some things, but I also was a professional vocalist, so I have some music knowledge, and my
Mhm.
mother was a musician. I mean, I grew up with all of that. So I was very aware. Also had studied voice and helped my voice teacher teach beginner voice. So I had all that, and so as I look back, I can see how all of this coming together. Um, Even the stint I did as a broadcast salesperson, selling advertising and working in public relations, has helped me be a better entrepreneur.
Absolutely. It all set
Yeah.
you up to do exactly what you're doing.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. It did. Anyways, so that's how I got started. And with each passing year, I'll just leave a lot out. Here I am, 30 years later, and I got so busy with being asked to speak and teach and practice sound therapy that it just gradually pushed out the massage practice. I was a very busy massage therapist, and I had a holistic healing center in New York for 11 years. It was, like I said, I'm very busy and thriving. So I finally had to let that go. And as I did, the sound therapy, it's just exploded with opportunities to continue to speak and teach. And of course, now at the age of 72, 3 years ago, I opened a sound school. So it's never too late.
which is such a beautiful legacy, honestly. Like I think about your mom sometimes, because
Mhm.
you've shared so much of her, like in your own journey. But I think about like the legacy that you're working to leave behind too, and how much in the time that you started to bring sound forward into your practice, like how much we've learned since then, how much we can measure scientifically since then. And I think about, even like how we will evolve, with all of this and what we know. And we've talked about this, how like for me, it really started with the acoustic levitation of water droplets. I was like,
Uh-huh.
look what we can do. Everything is energy. And it just like that was my sort of explosion, like my epiphany into that world. And for me, sound is it's like fundamental to life. It's like water. It's like air.
It is.
Yeah. In terms of like my experience here, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and it's just amazing when you have that combined knowledge of, the sort of medical understanding of the body to like understand the very real impact of frequency and sound and vibration on our cells, on our brain, you know. So
Yeah. Yes, it is. And the deeper I get into this, I mean, I still take classes, and even sometimes I'll take one of these like $97 online sound classes just to see what are they teaching.
yeah.
uh, you know, and some of it is good, and it's a good place to start. Um, some of it is, if were just starting out and didn't know, I would think they were teaching everything that is correct and totally true. But of course, I know now some of the things I believed and thought and were taught
Mhm.
at the beginning of my sound journey. I've learned that no, they weren't, and the bad part about that is that when I first started teaching, I taught some of those things. And so I've had to go back and publicly say, hey, I was wrong. Well-intentioned teachers,
Oh my
but
God, but I think I
yeah.
just want to say like that's a very honorable way to like I think that's a sign of a true teacher, right? Like because we only like can know what we know at the time and then we don't know what we don't know. And I just, that keeps me very humble in life, like because there's
Mhm.
so much that I'm aware that I don't know. And even when I think I know there's more. Um, but you can only teach to the best of, and then you have to revise once you learn. So, like we
Well,
talked about dispelling
yeah.
some myths about, because I also, when I started my journey, I was like, I must get a bowl for each chakra and it won't be effective if it's not that way. And I can see how, but that is a very real, like, marketing aspect of business too. So it's like you see these things and it makes sense. I know better now, and actually I only have a few tools that are my sort of go-to, you know, and it's nice. And I won't like fault anybody for having a bowl for each chakra. Like, they're
No,
pretty.
no. Well, and the thing is, this is what I teach my students because I tell them you're going to see this and hear this. You must use C for the first chakra and D for the
Mhm.
second, and that Western note scale. But the thing is, they could work. I mean, you're working on an issue that is the third chakra, and so you think, okay, I have to use the note of E, and so you do, and the person sees some kind of benefit from that. And so I look at it, in my opinion, my thoughts about that are okay, we lucked out, that worked. Okay. Um, but because of my many years of experience with many clients and private sessions, I've seen that you don't have to use that note. You don't have to have uh, those Western note scale, for each of the chakras. And another piece I want to add into this, what I've learned um, from one of my favorite teachers, and if any of the people that know me or have had classes with me, they'll know what I'm going to say. But one of my favorite sayings is not only do we not know what we don't know, but Alexandre Tanu has this saying. I wrote it down and I quote him many times from one of the classes I took from him. This was an online class, I think during COVID. There was uh, I think a 6 week, 3 week or six. I don't know. I've taken so many. It was a lengthy, anyway, conference sound therapy, and he said a virtuous practitioner can give an effective session with just one bowl,
Mhm.
or just one gong,
Mhm.
or just their voice. I have seen that. I have seen that, and so
And
one of the things,
do you think that's because, so what comes to me a lot is like that we are facilitating an experience for
right?
that person to be able to go into their body and allow their body to do what it is like already designed to do. Like it allows the like so we help them to like expand or open their consciousness in a way that, so it's not necessarily about hitting the right note, although sometimes it can be, right? Because certainly
Mhm.
like we've had we you can hit a wrong note. Some
Yeah,
are more preferable than others.
yeah.
But even that is like a whole experience. But yeah, like sometimes I think it's about opening the experience or, like sharing in that with someone so that that healing opportunity can happen.
Well, and one thing we can't overlook in all of this is the placebo effect and the power of
Hmm.
belief.
Yeah.
If you believe something is going to work, it works far more often than
Hmm.
you're doubting and don't believe and you're coming from a place of fear. Um,
I always love those case studies. I think my dream job would be to like have some sort of like sound research institute or something, like do case studies
oh,
on
oh,
sound. I love
do
that
it.
stuff. I do. Something like that has to exist already. Like I want to be able to measure the impact, like I think about these things. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. And that is the true marriage of, like the sort of spiritual aspect of sound and the belief, we talk about the placebo effect and then the very real scientific empirical impact of what it actually physically does to the body and that are like seen in measured changes. So,
Mhm. Well, a class I have that's coming up, I'm teaching with Helene Williams. And Helene's an amazing Reiki practitioner. She's a who uh, got Reiki into the Lancaster General Hospital, and then she started the Lancaster Reiki Share, and she's got all. Most importantly, she is truly a woman of honor and integrity, and is very bright. So she and I are co-teaching this class coming up on May 8th, presenting or introducing sound to sound therapy uh, for the medical community, and working not only to educate and introduce medical professionals to the benefits of sound therapy, but to any practitioner who wants to go into hospice or hospitals or well, any healthcare
mhm.
facility. Uh, One of the things we know that the docs like, and the a lot of other medical professionals, is the peer-reviewed and data-based studies, and there's not a lot out there specifically for sound as therapy, but some of the things that they've done, some of the studies they've done in music therapy, you can get little how some of that can apply those benefits to sound as therapy, because music is organized sound. Um, And one of my favorite books to recommend, um, it's not in the top three, but it is a favorite book. Why Woo Woo Works, and it's written by a PhD pharmacologist.
Wait, I'm
What
sorry,
is
you
his
cut out
name?
on that.
David.
What's the name of the book?
His name. Why Woo Woo Works.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
think I have a copy of it here. No, I don't. I can't see it readily. But he has, in that book, he has a lot of these types of articles. They're not just magazine articles. They're actually studies that have been done on energy medicine.
Hmm.
Okay, so some of that, of course, can apply to sound. Sound is an energy. Well, as you said at the beginning, everything is energy. So that's a good book uh, to start with when people are learning about using sound, so they understand why it works, how it can work. Um,
I see it like a conductor of energy. Like that's how I
mhm, mhm.
kind of experience it.
Yeah. Well, I took another one of the classes I took was with Thomas Orr Anderson, and he's affiliated with another one of my favorite teachers, Mitch Nur, Nur. And they were another online conference together, and he is a physicist, and he gives these great classes on understanding the physics of sound. Now, me being me, I'm like, oh, I dread this physics part.
Oh,
I'm
see, I
not
love that
get it.
part. Oh my
Oh, I
God, I
know.
love
You
that
would,
part.
and you would love him. Well, he is such an amazing teacher, and he really, even for someone like me, he explains the physics of sound. Like he
Hmm.
uses a slinky to show a sound wave. I mean, it goes further than that, but
That's awesome.
so I just anybody who likes the science part of this,
Hmm.
I would highly recommend his classes, and he's on some podcasts and so forth. But anyways, so when we look at the science of sound, and then we look at the art of sound, there's a meeting of the two because, like, even with a medical doctor, the ones that I've been to that have helped me the most, they don't have to just go black and white by the book. They're open to, listening and considering some things that maybe they weren't taught in medical school,
Yeah.
which was one of the reasons I went back to school in 2010 or 11 to do IIN, Institute for Integrative Nutrition, because I felt nutrition was that piece of energy, understanding the energy of food
It's
and
an important
dietary.
one. I really think that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that like I continually work on and have an awareness that like I can do better there. But
Mm-hmm.
it's something like that, but only because I know how important it is, like what I'm feeding myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Yeah.
It is. It is. But
And then I
anyways,
get yeah, that's like a whole other conversation about like I get
yeah.
frustrated with the lack of like options in general, but yeah, anyway.
Okay. So, yeah.
We'll talk about food. And just like healthy options because everything is processed anymore and everything has refined sugar. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Well, everything is energy, so it does feed pun into it. So,
Yes, yep, yep.
okay. All right. So where shall we go next? It's a
Um,
vast topic. Sound is a vast
it
topic.
is a vast topic. So I think, hmm, one of the things that we talked about when we had our conversation together was um the importance of and I can speak to this even now, like I'm moving through um, some pretty significant transitions in my life and in my relationships. And sound is something that I use um, very mindfully to, and maybe I didn't always, right? Like I would probably be one of those people before that would like play a song and it would just play it over and over again. And like I would just like sit in that emotion. But I have come to see when I'm doing that, like I'm much more so we talked about using like having self-awareness around sound, around things that we listen to, things that we feed ourselves, right? And so I can see like when I'm doing that, I am much better at using sound mindfully to shift my mood into another space. And that can like totally shift my whole day, so that I'm not having to like sit and continually process an experience that like I don't really need to process anymore or whatever, and then like be able to move through things. Um, so we talked a little bit about that.
Yes, and uh, listening and hearing, some people will say they're two different things. But when we really listen to something, and we're not just hearing it externally, uh, we will, when we listen differently, we hear differently.
Hmm.
So we know, and there have been studies done on this, we know that when we listen to happy, upbeat music, it usually does lift our mood. I think innately we know that. You just have to look at a 2-year-old hearing, a happy, upbeat song. I mean, they just start moving, and sometimes they'll try humming along or singing along.
Hmm.
It's just it's one of those things
Oh my gosh.
we're
Yeah.
we're
Kids
wired.
music is like a magical thing.
It is.
It
It
really
is.
is.
Yeah. I know I enjoy being with my grandkid. Well, my grandkids are grown now, but my great granddaughters. I don't see them enough as it is, but I love being around them because they're just, you can sing those little songs, and
Hmm.
even just doing that, engaging with them and that energy with their music is so happy.
Oh, it's
It's
like simple
joy.
joy. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Simple
Yeah,
joy with a child. Yeah.
it is. And some of the things that we listen to, well, anything we take in, like we said, food, okay, what we watch, what we read, who we
Hmm.
hang with, all of that affects our energy. And so I know as a healer, and let me just say right there, I know I'm not the healer. Okay. People get into arguments about that. Well, I'm not doing the healing. Well, of course we're not. Physician heal thyself. You can only
You're
heal
facilitating a
yourself.
space for healing.
That's right. That's
Hmm.
exactly right. So, anyways, when you are listening to these things, taking in this energy, it affects us. And so I try to be mindful of what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, who I'm hanging with, all of that. And I know you know that, and hopefully most of our listeners do. But I'm not going to get on a soapbox about that and things I see posted by people who are supposed to be love and light, and they're posting hateful things about whatever. And so, um, but I want to say so I don't forget. There's a really good video, and I know you've watched this, that even my most discerning and wise and skeptical mentors are okay with this video, and it's the one by Bruce Lipton. He's
Mm-hmm.
a cellular biologist, and there's an interview with him on sound healing on YouTube. It's about 40 minutes long, and if they just put in Bruce Lipton sound healing. Um, yeah, they will. That will bring that up. And I do ask students of all my classes to watch that.
I remember
Uh,
that one.
yeah, it's very good, and he explains it very simply and scientifically
Hmm.
for those who need that. The thing with science is, though, people will say, "Well, where's the science? Where's the science?" Well, science is always changing. That's one of the reasons I keep studying and reading and learning, because
Right. That's the
new
thing.
information comes out. That is
That's the
science.
thing I always find so paradoxical about people. It's like we know if you understand science, you understand that it is a continually evolving, always testing itself field. That's what I like about it. Like
Yeah.
it is adaptive because we are adaptive. And as we learn and we come up with better tools, we come up with, different ways to measure things, we evolve and become smarter, so then our tools become smarter. So then we have an opportunity to look at, okay, well, these things that we held as true, can we test them again? Like, are they still true under these circumstances now? And, so, oh, that's what I love about it. And I get so frustrated when people are like, they want to, oh, well, it's changed. Of course it's changed. It should.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some things do hold true still, so I think that they're like, with testing, you can continue to confirm and validate.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, this thing still holds true. Um, yeah.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. Um, One of the things that is so popular right now are people saying that this frequency is the DNA changer
Mm-hmm.
or the
Mm-hmm.
frequency of love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, really? Love's only one frequency and it works equally well for every 8 billion people on the planet? No,
Oh,
this,
love is far more complicated than that.
oh, oh, oh boy. Yes, we know. So,
Yeah.
but, when people say that this frequency, like the solfeggio frequencies, gets caught up in that. And I did. When I first read about it years ago, I didn't know. And so I thought, "Oh, okay, well, so if this frequency is what is used to bring about transformational change, then I should get that little whistle that blows that frequency and that'll do it." Well, that it's not and you know, I
Yeah.
mean, you see these ads all the time. And originally, when I first started seeing that kind of stuff, like you need this so you can manifest wealth in your life. This is the frequency that will do it. And it's like, oh, okay. Now I have to let them know that's not true. And, after a while, I got to the point where it was like, Lana, you are not the grand corrector of everyone. Let it go. That just like you discovered it, they'll
Yeah.
discover it, or they
Yeah.
won't. And it's not my job.
Yeah.
But I'm committed to educating people, not so I can be right, but so they can benefit
Oh,
from
because
knowing the
I think it's
truth.
freeing. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
freeing to know that it's not, I mean, here, imagine, right? Like imagine somebody plays the 440 frequency for you and you don't like it. So like maybe you personalize that about yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
who knows? I'm just using that as an example, but I mean that there, of course, there's more than one way to evoke a love emotion, and it doesn't have to be like on one certain frequency. Um,
Oh,
that journey in and of itself is much more complex than that. And so I think it's important. I think it's freeing to know that, you have these options. And then honestly, with just a few tools, right? I mean, it's fun. I
mhm.
can see, oh my gosh. I mean, every time I see you, I want some of these tools to play with because I'm like, oh, I really love this one. What's the one with like all the strings on it? I love that one.
Oh, the monochord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Or
every time.
polychord is actually the better word for it. It's not just mono, one string, it's multiple. Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
but
very
I think
soothing.
even that, like, that's the experience of the person who's, it's also in the joy of, like when you do a sound session for someone, like you're intuitively guided to go where you go to pick up certain instruments or whatever, you know?
Hmm.
So it's like that experience is coming through you as the practitioner, and then whoever's on the receiving end of that is getting that energy, through
Yeah.
you, through the instruments. Like it's a whole sharing experience.
And through their own filters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's one reason why the students at Sound School are required to take at least this basic trauma-informed workshop because
Mhm.
you may think they need some drumming at the end of a session, but it might set them off. Well, then
Yeah.
what do you do? Or the gongs. A lot of times, the gongs can be unnerving for people, and if they're not played with skillful means, uh, they can sound awful.
Hmm.
I happen to love them, and if I'm receiving a sound session, I love hearing that. It takes me
Oh, I
deep.
love it too.
It takes me
But
on
I
a
can see
journey.
how if you were not
Yeah.
a practiced practitioner, that I
Mhm.
just like we've talked about people who play sound bowls so loudly that it's like it's like I can't sit through it. Um,
Yeah. You see that a lot with crystal balls,
mhm.
and yeah, louder is not better.
Mm-mm.
Um, but
No, I actually have learned the art of just letting it ring out on its own and letting it finish.
mhm,
Like that's really powerful actually.
it
Um,
is.
so
It
yeah.
is. And not moving too quickly to the next instrument. That silence
Mhm.
is needed between as you segue from one instrument to another. Um, whether it's the same type of instrument or something totally different, that silence allows people to process what they've just heard, what they've just experienced. Um, and breath work's very important in the
Oh my
sound
gosh.
therapy
Yeah.
process as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but you said about 440, and when we tune, instrumentalists, musicians tune their instruments. They use the 440 hertz A, okay, to tune. And there's a lot of nonsense going around about 432 hertz for
Mhm.
cycles per second is better than the 440A because the Nazis changed it so they could control us because 440 brings about fear more so than 432, which is peaceful. That is not true. It's been proven it's not true. And so I was even part of two different studies, small, nothing uh, major. But in fact, Thomas Anderson, that I mentioned, the physicist a while ago, he did one for our group in the Art and Science of Sound Healing group, which is on Facebook. Recommend that to anybody wanting to know the truth about sound. um, and he did across the board how 440, 432, 444 affected us. It was across the board. I mean, everybody felt those things differently. Some people couldn't even tell the difference between a 440 and a 432A. So, and yes, in some cases, the 440 hertz A would sound better to someone than a 432, and vice versa, or
Mhm.
anything in between there in that A uh, scale, or
But it's
you
not
can
necessarily
measure.
generalized. You can't generalize it necessarily.
No,
Yeah. It's an
no,
individual experience.
right. And so it's another thing that you mentioned earlier about marketing. Some places will sell crystal bowls that are tuned to 432, okay, because they know there are people out there who don't know the difference. Now, if you do like the 432, you hear it compared to a 440A, the note of A, and you like it better, then that's okay. Go with it. But you have to then understand if you're going to be playing other instruments that are tuned to the 440A, they're going to sound a little off
Mhm.
with each other. So, I mean, I said
Yeah.
sound is a vast topic. And so, I mean, I could go on about that
Oh
too,
my
but
gosh, I know there are so many nuances though but like that's what I love about talking with you is because you really do understand those little intricacies and that's the part that I love. That's the part that like those are the things that if I was going to do studies, you know, stuff like that.
yeah. Yeah, I wish you would. I don't
I know,
have time
I don't know.
to
I
do
don't know how I get into that.
well, yeah. Well, we can talk later. So, yeah.
Well, I feel like we covered a lot here. I know it is very technical. I do want to leave people with, if they have any questions or you are a wealth of knowledge and resources. So, if anybody wants to reach out or, we have lots of places that we can direct people for more information on this topic because it is vast and it can get very technical, but I just find it so interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's easy for anybody to go on YouTube and put sound healing and then watch people do what they do. But how do you know you're watching someone who really knows what they're doing? And so that's one of my missions is to help
Mhm.
people to know what to look for. And I would say you can go to soundwisehealth.com
Mhm.
and I also, for just a couple of basic places to look where I know as far along as I've come in sound therapy, is to look at either Alexandre's or Mitch's websites. Um, and they are soundmeditation.com. That's Alexandre's website. And there's some very good articles on there and also links to videos. And then Mitch Nur, his is 9, the numeral 9 ways .org, and also very good articles on there. And then, of course, they always list their classes. For gong and percussion, I refer everyone to Michael Bettine, Bettine. His videos are excellent instructional, and they're not real long. I think he does like it's cuppa time, and it's like 20 minutes using the right mallets, how to choose a gong,
Yeah.
other percussion instruments. I could go on and on. I'm sorry.
No,
So,
I'm loving, I just admire it's like after my own heart of like, you're like naming, I mean, you named your own website, but like you have all these other resources of people who have been your teachers that you acknowledge. And I just appreciate that so much about you, because it really is like we learn from each other, and it's a community
uh,
effort. So we all
mhm,
bring this knowledge, to the
yeah.
table. So,
Well, and we're committed to birthing the new earth and making, as Charles Eisenstein's book title says, uh, the more beautiful earth our hearts know is possible. And when you're committed to that, you want to get the knowledge out, not
mhm.
to criticize or be right, but so that the truth is out there for people to take it and make it their own, um, and to do their part in making the world a better place.
Mm.
That's my motivation.
That's my motivation too. That's why I do what I
Yay!
do. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. I love you. Thank you for
I
being
love you
here with
too.
me.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks for joining me for this episode of All the Things.